How Animals Get Their Color by Ben Schultz, Eva Cassidy, and Jordan Dowdle.
Have you ever wondered why animals like this macaw have vibrant colors like red, green, and blue, while we humans are relegated to shades of brown? Why aren't there red or green or blue humans? Why isn't this macaw just a drab tan? There are two main ways that the animal kingdom derives its wide array of coloration. They are pigmentation and structural coloration. Pigmentation is a coloration process that uses tiny molecules called pigments. These pigments rely on the chemical properties of the molecule to reflect specific colors of light, which our eyes perceive as a color. This process is present in our hair and skin. Structural coloration, on the other hand, relies on the physical properties of the molecules to bend and interact with visible light to produce the perception of a specific color, oftentimes a bright and vibrant color. The color blue is most commonly made using structural coloration.
But wait, how does this relate to how I get my color?
When you were much younger, before being born and after being a lump of cells, you were an embryo. Now this embryo might look more like a lizard than human, but this is the starting place for nearly every vertebrate on Earth. The embryo contained a neural crust along with what will become your spine. Stem cells from the neural crust migrate all throughout the body. Let's focus on one of these cell types, the melanocyte.
Now hold on. The artist, me, may have oversimplified what a melanocyte looks like. So let's get rid of this one. And now we can bring out what a melanocyte actually looks like. Much better.
Melanocytes produce the pigment that gives humans our colors. This pigment is melanin, which comes in two flavors, eumelanin and pheomelanin. Pheomelanin is a yellow-red pigment, while eumelanin is a brown and black pigment. Melanin helps protect us from skin cancer, absorbing the sun's UV rays, but too little UV leads to a lack of vitamin D. How do these melanocytes find the perfect balance? Melanocytes are embedded with a protein called MC1R. This protein has the ability to send signals to organelles called melanosomes, which produce and store melanin. UV radiation from the sun triggers production of molecules called MSH, melanocyte-stimulating hormone, which does exactly what it sounds like. It helps MC1R send a signal to the melanosomes to begin producing the brown pigment eumelanin, causing your skin to darken and prevent sun damage. In other words, tanning. This process can be turned off and even reversed by a molecule called the agouti signaling protein. This can also bind to MC1R, having it send a signal to the melanosome to return to the production of yellow pigment pheomelanin. Both of these molecules can be overly abundant, leading to MC1R overworking in the case of MSH and underperforming in the case of agouti. MC1R overwork leads to overly dark pigmentation, such as seen in the Black Panther. MC1R loss leads to overly light pigmentations, like yellow labs and redheads.
Now, if all this seems a little bit complex, that's okay. Your body finds it difficult too. That is, if it didn't have its little helper, tyrosinase. Tyrosinase is a powerful tool that our body uses along all the steps of producing melanin. As you can imagine, not having tyrosinase can have some pretty dramatic effects. It would be like trying to hammer in a nail with no hammer. Organisms without this useful tyrosinase suffer from lack of pigments, often referred to as albinism. This is often seen in the typical portrayal of lab mice and lab rats. Partial albinism is also possible, caused by heat-deactivated tyrosinase, as seen in these Siamese kittens. As they age, the parts of their body that are further from their warm core turn dark in color, such as their ears, nose, and feet. Let's continue on with more of our furry friends. Dogs come in many shapes and sizes, which leads us to two questions. Why are they limited to the same colors of tan, brown, black, and white as humans? And also, what on earth is Clifford the Big Red Dog? Sadly, I can only answer the first question. Dogs use the agouti molecule that we talked about before to control coloration on two of their regions, their stomach and their back. Differences in the regulation of agouti in these two locations has resulted in the wide variety of dog colorations we see today. They then pass this on to their offspring and can mix them up, making even more combinations. Now cats, well, they can have their whole own video, but in short, Cats follow much the same principles as dogs, however, they don't stick to just those two regions. Their patterning can be spread across their whole body, which is why we see striped and spotted and splotchy cats, and not that in dogs. But now you're probably asking yourself, well, how does my 3-foot long cuttlefish that I keep as a pet get its coloration? And to that, I have an answer. But first, tell me where the cuttlefish is in this image. I bet you probably found it, but maybe you didn't realize that I lied to you and there's actually 2 of them. Now that we've established that cuttlefish are masters of disguise, it should seem pretty obvious that they don't color themselves the same way we do. These organisms use a special cell type called chromatophores, as seen here. These chromatophores are arranged in several layers in the animal's skin. Using properties of structural coloration, they arrange and move these chromatophores so that different colors may appear. From these clips, we can see that these animals have the ability to actively control their chromatophores, which is what makes them some of the best active camouflagers in the entire animal kingdom, because they can change colors on their entire body by moving these cells. Now, not all animals have full control over the principles of structural coloration. However, some birds that you can find in your own backyard, like the blue jay, use it really heavily to get their entire body coloration. Some people, upon hearing this, take this to mean that blue jays aren't actually blue. That's a difficult question. Is the sky actually blue? There's no pigment in the sky. It solely comes from light scattering in the atmosphere. Lucky for you, we have the answer to this and other difficult philosophical questions. And that's coming up